Hello. So I'm sitting here. We're having another Zoom conversation. This time I'm having it with Justin Smithson. Uh, hey there.
Hey, hey.
This is another one that's kind of a little bit outside the box when it comes to some of the people who originally came here for fitness and stuff. But this guy, you can't go to an area sports event practically and not hear you sing a national anthem or whatever. I mean, you do the Boilermaker, Utica Blue Sox, the Comets. I remember a fantastic video that you were part of just when you first walked in the first game of the season for the Comets. You sang a song. It was amazing. I mean, it was that was If I Fall.
Yeah, that was my original song, If I Fall. Rob Esch, the owner of the Comets, approached me and he said, that song really speaks volumes when it comes to the city of Utica and the Comets as far as what we're trying to do, here in the city. And, I'd like you to do a music video and we'll play it before every home game. And that was, I think, the first year that the Comets were here.
Yeah. Well,
So,
the city has gone through a lot. Um, I mean, it seems like it's struggled, although I don't think a lot of people realize there is a wealth of people with knowledge and information that just runs around. We have a culturally rich area, and
yeah.
uh, just Utica is, well, to steal a quote from a local bank, Utica is unique.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's
in a
for
good
sure.
way, but in a very good way.
Yeah.
So when I think of you and I think of sports and I think of music and I don't know of a time that I haven't worked out or played a game or anything like that where music hasn't been part of it.
Right.
So it helps a player get into the headspace. And I know that being a musician, you're practicing and learning a craft just like an athlete learns their craft.
Sure.
So kind of, I don't know, when you're thinking of setting moods and the moods you feel from music, how does that make you feel? Talk about the
Uh,
feelings of
well, I mean, as a musician, and the fact that as far back as I can remember, I've been surrounded by it. So, um, every single song that I listen to, whether it's something I choose to listen to or something that's on the radio, uh, I mean, it generates some sort of feeling or emotion in me, and I mean, it could either change the mood I'm in or accentuate the mood I'm in, or completely destroy the mood I'm in. I mean, it depends on what I'm listening to, and but every single facet of my life revolves around the music that I listen to or play or anything.
Oh yeah. Well, I know that once again, as I say, I remember going to so many games and so many sporting events and intro songs. I mean, wrestling is famous for it, but I also
Yeah.
remember playing as a hockey player. I remember if I hear Hell's Bells one more time walking into a rink, I think I'm gonna vomit. But I can say it does, that boom, boom, and it does invoke something in you,
For sure.
and it's almost primal. I mean, wouldn't you say that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it goes as far back in history as the wars that America or anybody's fought before. I mean, you look back at the Revolutionary War and there was fife and drums. I mean, there was even though it was done to a march or whatever, it was something to get people ready to
Hmm.
battle, to do whatever. And I think that holds true with sporting events, and it passes through into that. I mean, you don't hear a lot of fife and drum anymore before a hockey game, but for the best example I can give, I'm a big Sticks fan, and even though I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, the Steelers use the song "Renegade"
Great
uh,
song.
to to pump up the crowd and to pump up the players, and there's actually been interviews and talks about with the players and with fans about what that song does to them when they hear it, and it's great. I mean, you see these guys that make millions and millions of dollars, but there's something that brings them and the fans who are coming to watch them together, something they share together, and something that evokes that feeling to both of them. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely I can't imagine anybody not listening to music for, different things. Like I said, it's such a part of my life that I can't imagine people not listening to something.
Do you have a like a song that really gets you pumped up?
Uh, well, I mean, it all depends once again on what mood I'm in. I'm absolutely a huge Toto fan, and one thing that I love about Toto, everybody knows, Rosanna and Hold the Line and Africa. I mean, but they have so many different songs that you know uh, cover such a wide variety of music that I could just about find any Toto song to fit any mood that I'm in. So, at this point, that's where I'm at. It's funny because there's a lot of blues songs, Stevie Ray Vaughan songs that, blues is always attributed to, somebody being sad, but, there's some really rock and blues tunes, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Robert Cray, Jimi Hendrix, stuff like that, Cream, that puts you in a different mood, and gets you pumped up. And, I mean, I listen to everything, you know what I mean? There's, I mean, when I was back in high school, I mean, there's some rap songs that you feel a beat to, and I mean, rap was a lot different back then than it is now, but listening to, different things and it gets you in a mood for the day. And, there's not many times that I'll listen to a song and it puts me in a mood that I don't want to be in, so to speak.
Well, and I think, um, I mean, I know that I've been to concerts and festivals, and you talk about the mood changing, and I can think about how I could go to a 3-day festival and walk out. I should be exhausted. I mean,
Sure.
back especially when I was younger, because I'd be going around and dancing, sometimes moshing, depending whatever the concert was.
Yeah.
And 3 days later, I'd still be going and I'd just be running on the emotions. On
Yep.
the other hand, I remember going to one concert in particular. It was a really weird concert. It was the Sugar Cubes. I don't
Hmm.
know if you remember them. They were
No.
surprisingly heavy. Well, Bjork was
Oh yeah. Okay.
Bjork. That's where she came from. Uh, they were a surprisingly heavy band.
Hmm.
Then it went New Order, which not exactly heavy at all. And then it went Public Image Limited, which is Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols.
Sure. Sure.
So it's like taking a car going about 60 miles an hour, slamming it in reverse, dropping the transmission, and now trying to gun it.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
I just remember being, by the time they Public Image Limited, who I loved at the time,
Sure.
got through their first song, I was spent because the
Yeah.
emotions and everything were too far all over the place.
Well, I mean, I feel like I mean it goes all the way down to local bands like myself and everything. You have to be able to read the crowd, and certain promoters I feel don't get it right sometimes. I mean, they'll put together a festival, they'll put together a show with a bunch of different bands, and I mean, to appease some of the bigger bands, they kind of rotate them in and out and different things. But some promoters, they don't get it right. You know what I mean? There's a whole like demographic of things that you need to go up and down, like to work the crowd's emotions and to feel, have them feel what you want them to feel. And with what you're explaining, it seems to me that the promoter got it wrong. Which it happens, but you know. Those festivals and shows that you went to, that you're still riding on that adrenaline and the dopamine rush from for 3 days is the ones that got it right, and that's what we hope to do when we play out. I mean, we hope to, we read the crowd. It's all part of it. You have to read the crowd. You have to see what they're, and you can feel it. I mean, like, if you're a musician on stage, and I really feel bad for people who've never been able to experience what I experience on a stage, and because it truly is amazing, and and there's something in the air. There's some kind of feeling that you get when you're on that stage where you can connect with the crowd without saying a word to them, without anything. You read people's eye language and body language, and you know that, like, if people are riding high, that nobody wants to hear a slow song, so you don't play a slow song. you know uh we're getting a little bit older now, so sometimes we will throw in a slow song because we need a break. So, but we get punished by that with the crowd, because the crowd, they'll go and get a beer, or they'll do, whatever. But you know for the most part, it's pretty easy for us when we're on stage um to judge a crowd, to see what they're feeling and what they need and what they want. And and to send them home happy, because that's what our main goal is, because we feed off their energy. We're gonna have a good night if they're having a good night. So
Cool.
yeah.
So, um, what sports do you like?
Oh, what sports do I like? My favorite sport in the world is baseball. I've always loved baseball. I'm a huge Yankee fan, and because of my love for history, I've researched so many Yankees teams from the past, and Babe Ruth is my favorite. I mean, just and it's not even he's my favorite ball player. It's just he's my favorite character. In
Quite the
that, you know what I mean? Like you look at what he did. I mean, got hammered and had sex with 5 women and got up hungover, ate 16 hot dogs and hit 4 home runs. And you know what I mean? It's like that was, and to me, that's like, almost, superhuman in a sense, I mean, and he always had that. I mean, I know I grew up and it was like Babe Ruth is everybody's hero. It was like, it wasn't even like he's your hero, like you want to be like him. It was just he was your baseball hero. And there's a video of him hitting his 60th home run, and they have it in slow motion. You can actually see his swing, and you see how powerful it was. And if you look back at the history, you can see how unorthodox it was for somebody to be hitting that many home runs, because there was so much small ball, and like a lot of the coaches and stuff from other teams hated him because he was doing something different than what baseball was at that time. So I know I'm getting off track, but that's
No.
my favorite sport is baseball. And then I go on the complete opposite of the spectrum, and I love golf. I grew up watching golf on TV, so a lot of people can't get into it, but I love watching golf. And I love playing golf.
I think that's one of the ones where you have to learn to appreciate it, unless you fall in love with it early.
Sure.
I am a lousy golfer. Uh, but I can appreciate when I see somebody do something great and
Yeah.
intentional. That's the other thing. I mean, I've seen a lot of people who I'm like, okay, that's a lucky shot, which is
Sure.
great. But I've
Yeah.
also seen some people go, you look at them, they read the green, they look at this, they're reading this, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh crap, they just sunk that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, or they approach the green and it's like, wow, that was something.
Yeah.
Um, Now you talk about baseball. Did you know that like baseball is obviously the sport that brought music to sports, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. Did you know that like the Dodgers was the first team that had an organist?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I knew that. And it's funny because they still have recordings like in Yankee Stadium of the old organ and stuff. And it's funny because we talked about emotion and feeling and stuff, and I can't imagine going to a baseball game and not hearing the Hammond
Oh
with
God,
playing the baseball music, and like take me out at the ball game. And there was a very famous video of Harry Carey singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and it's just that whole thing, and even just a regular Hammond organ can make you feel the same almost as Hell's Bells in the ice or in the rink. It almost evokes the same feeling, and it's funny to me because you would think, oh, I got to listen to the heaviest song to get pumped up, and when you hear somebody say, yeah, I listen to yacht rock radio on Sirius, and that gets me going. And for some people it does, and there's nothing wrong with that. But everybody's different.
well they got to get
Some
into
big
the right headspace for them.
Sure. Sure. I mean, some 30s, 40s big band music could do it for people. I mean, you never know. I mean, it's whatever triggers that dopamine and that adrenaline rush that that's the beauty of music, is there's so many different genres and different things that you can listen to evoke that different feeling in you. And
Oh,
it affects everybody different. It can affect you, like big band music can make you feel groggy and crappy, but it can make me feel on top of the world. I mean,
I don't
it's
know how it
it's
doesn't make you
amazing.
feel hopping there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to shoot a
right.
bug when I hear big band music.
For sure, for sure.
Um, no, I look at music. We talk once again. I kind of hit on that. I've been to a lot of sporting events, and I'm amazed with the music, both good and bad. I still remember going to a Buffalo Sabres game, and Sabres were just sucking at the time.
Yeah,
and that building was evil to them. They came out for the third period and they started the period and they're playing My Own Worst Enemy. And I'm like, dude, you're cutting on your own team when they're hitting the ice. I mean, like
Oh
that's
yeah,
harsh. But
yeah,
the fans strangely loved it. It's like at that time they're like, we love them, but we hate them. But you can't hate them because we love them.
right, right.
And I was
Well,
just
I mean, once again, going back to baseball, that's New York Yankees fans right there. I mean, it's insane what they I like so many pictures. You got AJ Burnett when he came to the Yankees way back when, and and he was a great pitcher for the Blue Jays. He was great, and he came to Yankee Stadium and just could not pitch in the Bronx. He just couldn't do it, and it was just too much pressure. And it's great to see, that there's fans, just regular people that can have that effect on all these guys that make millions of dollars. A-Rod's another example. A-Rod had a great career, but I mean, another example, I mean, the guy just put so much pressure on himself because of the high contract he got and because of the newspaper ads that would come on against him and, everything like that. It was just, I think that a lot of fans, a lot of people forget that these guys are human. You know what I mean? They're real people like you and me. You know what I mean? And they're making millions of dollars, but they have emotions, they have feelings as well. So,
yeah, yeah, totally agree. So totally agree. Um, so what was I gonna say to you? I was gonna kind of bring it back to that whole music. I mean, I mean, what do you think of when you hear like the Charge song and like you hear dan, 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 that,
oh yeah, yeah.
all of those things. What do you think of when you like that? How does that make what emotions does that bring to you?
Uh, well, for me, I mean, whenever I hear that song, it's usually at a baseball stadium, and I think the last time I heard it was at a Blue Sox game. Like I was there, and you could hear that, dun, 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 you hear that going, and to me, it's almost nostalgic, and that's the kind of, the Charge song, every time they go da 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 da, everybody goes, hey, you know what I mean? Just I don't know, it's nostalgic for me because it's one of the oldest things that I've heard in a stadium or what I do. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
where I've been and stuff. It's you hear that and it's nostalgic. But of course, I mean it gets you going. It's there. You know what I mean? It's you're in the moment anyway. So
Uh, it's amazing how that stayed with us, though. It's kind of interesting like that. I mean,
yeah,
there is become so many songs over the years that have become staples for different teams and different things for
yeah,
different reasons. Uh, I mean, and some of them go all the way back to 30s and whatever.
yeah.
But I mean, you can't think of the going to the Red Sox without thinking Sweet Caroline, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't think of, actually, you talked about the Steelers. That made me think of back in the day, uh, in the days of the Mean Joe Green era and everything like that. You had
Yeah.
"We Are Family" was their song.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that or whatever,
Oh
but
yeah.
but they use that to guide them all the way through a championship,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of mind-boggling that the music had that influence on them.
Sure.
Um, Now I'm gonna kind of geek out a little bit on you here a little bit.
Okay.
So uh, I was kind of thinking about. We talked a little bit about music coming all the way back to tribal and armies and everything like that. Um, and I kind of know that like a certain chord structure, would you could say, could absolutely evoke a kind of response in the body. What do you think about that? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it goes back to pump songs for sports and stuff. "We Will Rock You." I mean, it starts out with that beat, but then when you hear Brian May come in with the and that guitar line, I mean, and the way that he plays it, it just brings it all together. You know what I mean? And as far as I mean, chord progressions, I, I was always when I was a really young kid. My mom would tell me that if a song, like, she would call it a sad song because she's not, I mean, there's minor, major, there's different, keys and stuff, but she would call it like a sad sounding song, and I would literally just start bawling when I was a kid, like, 1, 2 years old. I would just start bawling. She used to watch soap operas, and the theme, for example, the theme for Days of Our Lives, whenever that would start playing, I would literally start bawling. And and I think that a lot of it had to do with, the chord progression and the way that everything flowed, in the song. I mean, I think the same holds true for popular music. I mean, it evokes, like, once again, it goes back to that emotional feeling, that how it feels to you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
So you mentioned, and I can't help it, but you mentioned Queen, and
yeah,
uh, I've watched Bohemian Rhapsody like I don't know a bunch of times now. I have always wondered how that song got pitched. I mean, what are we going to do, guys? I know we're going to play in front of a stadium. We're just going to clap our hands and stomp our feet. What do you mean we're going to clap our hands and stomp our feet? We're just going to clap our hands and stomp our feet. How do you do that? I mean,
yeah,
dude, we're all known for our, going through and everything like that. No, we're just going to do that. And like three quarters through the song, all right, Brian, now you can play.
right,
And it's
right.
just like, whoa, that's just mind numbing. I don't know that.
I think, as far as I remember, I think that the drums were the first part of that song. I think that was what they, like, he had that beat going, go, ka, go, ka, you know what I mean? And I think that was just something he was doing in the studio when they all came around, and like, and Freddie started singing something on top of it, and I think that that's how the song got built. It's funny how the studio evokes, different things in people when they're writing music. And everybody in the band always wants to collaborate somehow, you know what I mean? And I know it was like that with, the projects that I've done in the studio. It's, everybody wants to, you know uh collaborate with everybody, and everybody wants to, put their own twist on whatever. And I really think that that's how We Will Rock You was done. It was just his contribution to the album, in a sense that, I want to do something, and like, this is it, so
But it amazes me the rest of the band was willing and able to just, all right, I could step back and just
sure.
let that be that.
Well, I think too that Queen, that's another perfect example of a band that, I mean, to be in a band, you have to have somewhat of an ego. You have to have some sort of, you know, confidence in yourself, to, as a musician, as a songwriter, whatever. But they're also, like, playing in a band. It's very difficult for some people to release the reins on the fact that, they don't have to be in control all the time. And Queen was one of those perfect example of when Freddie had something, they knew that he was doing something great. You know what I mean? So they would release the reins to him and let him do it. Brian was also a great songwriter. They all had their own thing, but they all worked together as a band. And I think that's another reason why my band's been together for so long, is that, you know we there's not really egos. We all know that we work well together, and we just, it forces us to work together, because it's there's no really room for egos in a band. No
No,
I in team. That's what they say,
no,
right?
well, I was just gonna say it's teamwork,
Yeah.
and ego is a huge thing when it comes to success everywhere, business, work, gym, music, everything. You know, knowing when to rein it in, when to exert your ego.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's a different route that I didn't think we were gonna go down to today, but that's a
I
great thing. I love having conversations with people that make me think and get us all over the place.
I
And
tend to do that. I apologize.
no, no, it's great. I love this. I love this. I don't know. Uh, one second. Uh, oh, by the way, the way I'm wearing a hat is it's Bluetooth.
Oh, no, the hat is Bluetooth.
Yeah, and it
Oh
also
my
has
god.
my hair. Anyway, but
Hey, I
anyway,
don't have any hair, so I just, I put the headphones on, so maybe you focus on that instead of my lack of hair.
there we go. Sorry, COVID brain just went a little lost there for a second.
No worries.
Um, so any other, we've been talking for a little bit while or a little while. Any other kind of thoughts or anything that you want to talk about when it comes to emotions and music and teamwork, whatever? I kind of let you speak about anything else that you can kind of think about here that,
Yeah,
so
I mean, we're still on Queen, so I figure I'll go with that. One of my absolute favorite songs to play is the one they did with David Bowie, Under Pressure. Uh, it's one of those songs for me where I feel just about every single emotion that I could feel playing that song, and singing that song and hearing that song. Every time I hear it on the radio, I mean, it starts out and it's one of those things that like if you look at it on a graph, how it goes, it goes, and it reaches that peak and it starts to come back down again. You know what I mean? And it gets you on that roller coaster and then slams you back down. Because when the song's over with, you're like, like, oh my god, that was just such a huge, um, just emotional roller coaster in a sense. And every time I play that song, I mean, by the end of the song, when it's really rocking right before the end. And I mean, I'm jumping around the stage like a maniac because I have to get that out. I have to get that emotion and that feeling that I have out because that song is just, and it's so relevant today with everything going on. It's just, I mean, if people really listen to that song, I think it has such a great message, even still. I mean, it's a timeless song. And, you can look at the chord progression. It starts out so basic with the bass, do 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 do, and that's just so basic with a little piano thing. But then once the chords come in, this beautiful descending progression that comes as he's singing and getting into the song, and I don't know, it always hit me that progression always hit me a certain way. So,
I
but
I hear that song right now in my head, and I could uh right now I'm like pulling each individual part out, which is amazing in their individual things. You throw it
sure,
together, and it's just like wow. I mean, then you also have two absolute legends between Freddie Mercury and David Bowie.
yeah,
I can't imagine you talk about egos in one place.
oh
It's like,
yeah.
oh my God. I mean,
Well,
and
you heard that story, right? With the Freddie wasn't even there in the beginning. They were writing a song. They were going to collaborate with David Bowie, and he was going to sing, and they were going to play. And they were having such a hard time with Bowie that they called Freddie and said, "You need to come here. You need to fix what's going on because we're about to walk off the studio session. We're getting ready to walk out." And that's when Freddie came, and you know. eh, and the magic happened, whatever. I don't know exactly what happened, but whether Bowie had a respect enough for Mercury to say, okay, let's work on it together, or if Fred. I mean, I know Freddie was anytime he walked into a room, he stole the show, whether it be walking into a party or walking into a grocery store. I mean, he was just that type of
yeah, he said
you
there's
know
only room for one queen here.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely 100% true. And I mean, that's how he lived his life.
Oh,
And it was sad to see how he passed so early because another one of those musicians that you wonder what you would have had from them if they had been alive still. The 27 Club, I'm sure you've heard of that book, all
mhm.
these musicians that passed away when they were 27 years old, Jim Morrison, what would have happened with him if he was still alive? Jimi Hendrix. I mean, all these people that, if they
Man,
were still alive,
you know,
what they would have given us.
oh God, there's been so much talent out there that's like, and it's like amazed how people like so young. I mean, everybody, I think, kind of, people say, you grow from lifetime and you grow from experience, but everybody has a lifetime and they lived a lifetime in such a short period of time, yet still
Yeah.
communicated. It's like, yeah, I mean, Jimi Hendrix, whoa, I mean, beyond, I mean, some of the lyrics and the things that I've seen, it's like amazing. Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, it's
Hmm.
just like where, they still touch people to this day, and they
Sure.
probably will for another 50, 100 years. That people are
Hmm.
gonna be like, oh, remember this oldie? This is,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. And it's like, dude, that's just amazing. I don't know. What you talk about, we come back to the egos and everything like that. I've also, when we're talking about David Bowie, I have heard so many stories about him almost breaking these collaborations that he's had, yet still magic comes out of it. I mean,
Oh, for
I
sure.
know that he did stuff with Iggy Pop. He did stuff with, even more recently, he did stuff with Trent Reznor, and he did stuff with various other, and it's like, but it was always on that edge where it's like, oh, we're just going to throw the whole thing away. And next thing you know, we'll give it one last go just because.
Yeah.
And that's where there's like, oh, that was magic. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah. Well, there was one collaboration that he had that almost ruined a career or stopped it from starting. The song "Let's Dance."
yep.
Okay, the guitar solo in that song was a very young Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Wow.
who played that guitar solo, and he wanted him to go on tour with him. and Stevie at the time had put together Double Trouble, and they were starting to tour. And he said, "Hey man, I can't leave my band." And I mean, if he had joined David Bowie on tour and actually went and became part of his band, I mean, maybe there wouldn't have been Stevie Ray Vaughan as we know him. You know what I mean? But that was David Bowie broke him out. That was it's so funny. Like if you think about that, I mean, an '80s pop superstar, you know, breaks a blues guy into the mainstream. You know what I mean? So it's but yeah, that's he almost ruined a career without even trying.
Yeah. Um, I hear that. I've heard that from a couple. I mean, but yeah, no, I didn't know that specific story, but I've heard stories like that, and it's just like,
Yeah.
wow. That's another one. I can't imagine where he would have been if it wasn't for, the fateful accident and everything like that.
Hmm.
But and the emotions that the music brings, and
Yeah.
so um, as always, what's just suddenly come to my mind, and I'm just going to kind of leave it on this when it comes to our recording part of this, is uh, I have like 8 million playlists that I listen to for different things.
Hmm.
And um, you've just got me kind of thinking that I need to redo my various pump music as well as a couple other things. So let's do the desert island quiz. Give me. I know this. You have so many songs you love, but give me 5 songs that are go to for emotions for you right now. You want to get hyped up about something. Give me 5 songs.
Definitely Under Pressure would be there for me. Let me think. Uh, oh boy, right on the spot. See, this is tough. I mean, I just have millions of songs that go through my head, and
Well, and they're always changing, probably.
oh yeah, always it depends on what kind of mood I'm in for anything. I love '70s, '80s arena rock, sticks. I mean,
Renegade.
Renegade would definitely be in there. God, pump songs. God. I'm a '90s guy, so I mean, maybe some Blink 182 in there somewhere.
There you go.
Uh, you
Nirvana.
know, I was never a big Nirvana fan.
Okay.
This is a you might want to delete this from the recording because I might get shamed by all my musician friends, but um, I never was a big Nirvana fan, and you know what? It's funny because like the emotion that Nirvana made me feel was sadness and despair, and I'm a very happy person, I
You are.
guess.
You are very upbeat. Maybe it just
I,
doesn't work with you. It brings you back to
doesn't
your
yeah.
days of your lives.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's to me it's depressing, and I got a very short life here. You know what I mean? We all do. I mean, it's in a blink of an eye, it's over. So I'd rather spend it happy and living my life in a happy, positive way. So that's why Nirvana doesn't work for me, but that's all right.
Yeah.
On the second thought, Foo Fighters, that's one that does work for me.
Oh, I
Just
love.
about it. Yeah, just about any Foo Fighters song I could really get pumped up with. I think that's four, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know. I like that folky Irish music too, like Mumford and Sons, and stuff like that. Like that whole lead singer playing the acoustic guitar with the bass drum and the thing. Like that stuff always got me. The guys from Boston there, they did shipping out to Boston.
Oh, Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, Dropkick Murphys, man, they're incredible when it comes to like. I mean, if you want to talk about pump music, you know what I mean?
And
Like
great
that's
band,
just
great guys. They support their community. I don't know. I still remember there's a video you can watch this out there about a kid who was sick, and they went to his house and played outside his house just because they're like, we're gonna play for that kid. And
yeah
then at the beginning of the COVID thing, they were one of the first bands that did the streaming show
from Fenway.
from Fenway, and it was just
Yeah,
like,
they were all on the field. That was so cool. Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
that was just amazing. So, all
Well, I'm
right,
gonna get some flack. I'm gonna get some flack for that too because I'm a Yankee fan and I like them. But
Well,
whatever.
it's all good. It's all
If
good.
it's any, to redeem myself, okay. If anybody requests Sweet Caroline and like Sean knows it, he'll play it, and I will leave the premises. I don't even stay in the building.
That I was gonna say that's your break time. You're gonna go take a
Yeah.
break.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yep.
Like, all right, you got that.
I'm
He'll
out.
play that. you come back and play Enter Sandman.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know.
Oh
I don't
God,
think
how
that's
can I
in your.
forget about
I'm not.
Metallica?
Huh?
How can I forget about Metallica? I mean, come on, I mean, it's there's so many different. I mean, five is just really limiting. It's like I feel like I'm being put on the spot to do a top five guitarists of all time on Rolling Stone magazine. It's like
You can't do it. You can't
you
do it.
can't do it, man. I mean,
You can't do it.
I mean that brings me in a whole different conversation. I mean, Steve Lukather from Toto is one of the greatest guitarists of all time. He's been on thousands of records, and he's not even on the list. It's come on now.
I I don't think I could actually. Now that I think about it, I'm not. I know that I don't think that was a fair question for me to ask because I don't think I can narrow it down to five genres.
Yeah, sure,
Uh,
I agree.
um, and that's the other thing. I love so many of these musicians that are all over the place on different people, and I didn't know to respect them because I did not necessarily love their main band, but suddenly I'm like, going, dude, that's the guy from. Um,
Yeah.
and I kind of feel bad because some of the bands that I know you love, I was always like, it doesn't really do for me. And then suddenly I'd be like, oh, dude, that guy from ELO, he's freaking amazing. And I'm like going, I know Justin told me I should like them way back when. And I remember having like an album way back in the day from them, but dude, that guy I've seen here and there, and it's like, whoa,
Oh yeah,
amazing, you know.
for
So
sure.
all right. So I'm going to wrap this up, chat with you for a second. And then, so thanks everybody for listening. Should have this out shortly. Trying to figure out how to stop recording. And
Oh, bye everybody.
bye.
Thanks.